Hi, we're live. We're back. Welcome, Lee, to the AdventureX Dev Talk. My name's Sam Bunn. Super wonderful to have you here. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much, Sam. Good to be here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Let's just start with some super simple basics. Who are stuck in Attic and what is Near-Mage?
So Stuck in Attic is a three-person developer team from Transylvania. Well, actually, two of us are from Transylvania. Our programmer Chris, our buddy Chris, is over in Italy right now. I don't know if he's watching. He was watching. Hey, Chris. Um, and yeah, we've been developing adventure games for a while now. We launched our first game in 2019. It's called Gibbous, Cthulhu Adventure, and this is our Near-Mage is our second game. We've been working on it for way too long. It's been over 4 years now. Damn. But we're putting the finishing touches. I think we're about 99
Really?
95% done with it. Yeah, and it's this Near-Mage is a game. It's a narrative heavy, choice driven adventure game, and it's about this teenage girl who just graduated high school, and she's in a spot where I guess a lot of young people are, where they don't really know what to do with their lives. And she gets a letter, like a handwritten letter, from her great aunt in Transylvania, and she is invited to spend the summer there. And long story short, she finds out that she comes from a long line of witches, and she is entitled to attend the Transylvanian Institute for Magic as a near mage. So that's like a mage in training. And so that's where everything kicks off. It's a game that's very much inspired by the local traditions and folklore and legends and myths that we grew up with. Um, and
Oh,
yeah, we're super excited to sort of bring that. Transylvania is it's a pretty it's a setting that's pretty inspiring. It's pretty explored in video games, but we sort of feel like we can bring a little bit of extra authenticity to it, given the fact that we're from here.
yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, you say it's been explored, but I feel like it's, like, okay, all the Dracula stuff covered it, and that's a guy from the other end of the continent. No, like half of us don't even know where Romania is in reality, and
That's
so that you
true.
guys are doing it and talking about your origins and where you're from, I find super awesome. Um,
Absolutely, yeah. Bram Stoker ever actually never set foot here, but it was pretty impressive. He was great PR for us, I have to say. Like,
I believe
really
you.
great PR. We owe him a debt of gratitude for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I remember that your first game, Cthulhu, coming out, and from my perspective, I think the thing that blew me and I guess a lot of people away about that game was the quality of the animations and the art. It was just like, wow, you can do that on it with three people. Um,
Yeah,
and then I played the demo of this game, and yeah, it was just like it was like wandering through a pleasant magical dream. The story flows super fast, and that was a bit of a difference to how my experience of playing the previous game. Was that a conscious choice? Have you learned? Have you changed because of what happened in the previous game, or?
yeah, it absolutely was a conscious choice. Both from like a story basing perspective, but also just from how the how you control the character and how she moves and stuff. And I guess it comes down to the fact that we really care about theme. So like in Gibbous, you play, for example, like play a grizzled old noir detective, so it makes sense for things to go a little bit slower. In this game, you play like an energetic, athletic, young woman
Running up
who
the stairs?
yeah, and teenagers don't really have all that much patience for stuff. But actually, I have to say that the prologue is a pretty early build, where we hadn't yet added all the flavor hotspots where you can interact with the world and just check stuff out. And so in the final game, you have a lot of that, because we feel like that's important with adventure games, because when you're examining a hotspot and you get a description, you're not just learning something about the world, but you're also indirectly learning something about the character, based on how she feels, like how they feel about the world. But at the same time, it's also a conscious choice, in the sense that one of my pet peeves with adventure games, like, I love adventure games, it's my favorite genre, but I do have issues, especially with the older games, where it takes so. I mean, your character walks so slowly in,
Yeah.
in these some of these games, and it can sort of be a turn off for people who are not used to this game. And we really want Near-Mage to be one of those very inclusive games and very welcoming games. We would be thrilled if it would be like a gateway, like an entryway for people who are not familiar with the genre to figure out that, hey, these are not necessarily slow and, I don't want to say boring because I love the genre again, but they
Yeah.
can, they can move, or you can move around at a brisk pace. Like, your walking speed is a little bit faster. You can take your time if you want to, but if you really want to get stuff done, you can walk fast, you can run, and you can even fly from a certain point,
Oh, great.
in the game. And there's also fast travel. And so I feel like there are a lot of like modern amenities that games are used to. And so we cribbed a lot from other genres that are sort of connected to adventure games that are also story heavy, like RPGs, for example. Um, sorry. So yeah, we with our first game, we sort of went for a pretty classically inspired approach. Also, because it was our first game, and we didn't really feel like we had the game design chops to just innovate on so much stuff. But with our second, we were like, let's take a long, hard look at what we really love about adventure games and keep that. But also, let's take a look at other genres and see what we can do. And for
Bring a
example,
lot more in.
one of the differences is that in classic adventure games, your progress is gated in the sense that maybe you have like three screens and you solve a puzzle, and then you get rewarded with another screen and some characters. And we start like, hmm, what if we just give you access like half an hour into the entirety of the
Yeah.
game world,
I
you know?
loved that. I loved it when I played the demo. It was just like, oh, I can just keep going. Really? Oh, look at all these people. I want to know more about them. This was really effective. Yeah.
Yeah. We really like that. I'm a big fan of games like Final Fantasy. Like Final Fantasy 9 is one of my favorite games. And it's just that
Okay.
it's very connected to adventure games in the sense that the emphasis is put on exploring a huge world. Well, we couldn't really make a huge world because there's just three of us, right? But it's a pretty big game world that's made of three hubs. It's like the real life town of Sigishwara. There's the veiled magical town of Rakus that's adjacent to the institute. So like
Hmm.
on your map you have like three little tabs, and you can go from one
Hmm.
location to the other. And it
Okay.
does
Yeah,
pose
that makes
some
sense.
it does pose some interesting questions, because you don't get that constant reward of seeing new places and meeting new characters. You do get to meet new characters throughout the course of the game, but it what it enables you to do is to stick with the same characters, get familiar with them, and then
Mm.
as the story progresses and maybe you're involved in quests that involves them, you see how your relationship to these characters evolves. Like maybe you become the best of friends, or maybe they don't like you because you did something that they didn't appreciate, and you won't be able to talk to them maybe for the entirety of the game.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You get that. You get when you play through the demo, you get this impression, okay, like that I'm meeting all these people and there's relationships that you've developed, and I get the feeling I'm gonna at some point get into that. We haven't got a huge amount of time. Let's
Sure.
move on a little bit. Can you tell me a little bit more about the magic using gameplay? Because this is only really hinted at the end of the demo, and it would be super
Sure,
cool to
sure.
learn
So
more.
how adventure games have their inventory? We thought, well, theme is very important to us. It wouldn't make sense for us to have like a classic object inventory, and so we turned that into a spell inventory. But what's cool about that is that the way that you populate this inventory is taking classes. So for each class, there are 6 types of magic. There's like earth, wind, water, fire, blood, and soul. And what's cool about this is that every time you get notified that a class is available, you can choose which class to take. And based on this, once you have taken 3 classes, each class nets you, like, you can think of it as an ingredient for a spell. So depending on the order that you take classes in, you unlock and craft different spells. And this makes it cool because, for example, if I start a playthrough and you start a playthrough, we might have like a completely different inventory of spells that you can deal with, that you can
Okay.
use during your quest. So that,
So
I think.
you've built in a way of making it replayable in a way. Oh.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
And also adding to this, you can also just solve most quests with the exception of the first tutorial one. You can just solve all the quests just by doing a little level work and not involving magic whatsoever. And it's probably going to be an achievement for that. So there's a lot of incentives to keep replaying the game and seeing how using different spells or not using spells works.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, wonderful. Okay. I've got two. I'm going to ask you. another quick question, maybe. What about the changing clothes mechanic? It was a weird experience for me as a kind of bearded middle-aged man to be able to slip into these different outfits and I kind of enjoyed it. But has it got more? Is it part of the gameplay or is it just a fun extra?
It is a little bit of a part of the gameplay, but to be truthful, it was just something cool that, if we were a more
Yeah,
pragmatic and business savvy studio, we probably wouldn't have done that because it was a crazy amount of work because everything is hand drawn and hand animated. So for at each animation that the character has, you have to draw all these. Like we drew
of course.
hundreds, tens of
I
thousands.
can't
I'm not
imagine.
exaggerating. Yeah,
But
but it
it's
was really
wonderful.
it's really
The
cool. And
animation is
thank you. Thanks so much. It's another one of those things that you usually do in get to do in RPGs where it makes sense because in 3D it's much easier. But we were like, it's a game where your character is set, so you can't choose your gender or your race and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, no, why not let people just look the way they want to look? And I think it's going to be cool because when people are going to stream it, if you're going to be checking different streams,
right.
each character is going to look different. So it's one
Yeah.
of those crazy things where we're like, we shouldn't, but we will.
You did it. Yeah, yeah. It's the kind of thing. Yeah, yeah. Three students would come up with it and then be like, "Oh no, we can't do it," and you just did it.
Yeah,
It's great.
very
Um, we,
responsible. But
yeah, congratulations.
thanks.
That's actually the best way to be. We were talking before the stream started, and I would just like to come back to this about so you being from Transylvania,
Yeah,
living in Romania, um, and I hadn't realised until we spoke that actually the town it's based on is a real town from which you've drawn or taken the graphics
yeah.
and rearranged the place a bit. Can you tell us a bit more about your relation between the mythology and Romanian folklore and these things?
For sure, yeah. So the real town is a real town that's like 60 kilometers away from where we live, and we spend a lot of time there. And it's where Vlad the Impaler was born, actually. Yeah, uh, a lot of people might think that this game is inspired by Harry Potter or something of that effect. But actually, when I was doing research for this, I found out about this. We didn't really know what the game was going to be about. We were looking for ideas and found out about this legend about that was about this school for magic. Um, deep in the Transylvanian forest. It was a little bit different because only 7 students attended each year, and we have like hundreds. It's not really reflected in the prologue because we hadn't added them yet, but we have like hundreds, literal hundreds of NPCs. And also the
Yeah.
difference was that the devil was the headmaster, which we decided on not doing eventually. But yeah, it was a great excuse for me to do a lot of research in this and just like explore all the the strigoi, the moroi. We actually did like research trips through the country and talking to old
Amazing.
villagers, and just it was fascinating to see just how different like a moroi, for example, was just even from like a few hundred kilometers away. You would get different stories. It was very, very inspirational, and it's really cool
Right.
because in the game you have this a library where you can check out a bestiarium, and there's all the races and the species that appear throughout the game, and you can check it out. And
Oh, that's great. Okay. Yeah, because I was going to, I saw that you did for Gibbous, you did a book. Are you planning to do also a book for this one at some point to bring all that research and everything together as well?
yeah, yeah, we're actually going to be doing an art book, and we're really excited because there's probably going to be a physical edition. We did it for our Kickstarter backers, but hey, who knows if there's going to be more interest for it? You might do like a bigger print, but that's for when after we launch the game. Because right
Yeah,
now we're
yeah,
super focused on actually finishing it and launching it.
absolutely. I'm sure. Are you working crazy hours or is it reasonable at the moment?
Your average 10 to 14 hours a day, nothing
Okay.
nothing too crazy. But
Okay. Yeah.
we don't mind it. It's incredible. It's such a great feeling to actually be have this VR day, and well, most likely night job. But it's just when you do it out of love and passion, the time just flies by.
Yeah, I totally understand. Yeah. And so last question before we wrap up. Are you truly stuck in an attic?
Not currently, no. We were very tired when we chose that studio name. No, we actually started out in an attic, and then we had to move from that place to another attic, coincidentally. No, now since we're working from home, we're in a single story house, so no attics. But it's sort of a nice reminder, when we eventually launch the game and make tens of millions of dollars off it, we will never forget where we start from, our humble beginnings in the attic. So it's a very stupid name, but we're sort of very emotionally
I
attached
love
to
it.
it.
Cool. Yeah. Great. All right. Well, it's been super nice to meet you, Lee. Thanks very
Very
much for
nice
your
to meet
time and
you.
for giving us some insights. All the
Thank you.
best.